First thing, at the end of this meeting, you will know what havening is, because I'm pretty sure that none of you know what havening is. Do you know, anybody know what havening is? Okay, good. So that's where I was a year and a half ago. 1 out of 11 adults over the age of 18 is dealing with some sort of PTSD, that's post-traumatic stress disorder, or some other sort of trauma. 70% of us, by the time that we reach our death, will have suffered a trauma that will affect our lives. What if I told you that a 20-25-minute treatment could eradicate that anxiety? So about a year and a half ago, I was doing some research to help some of my clients, and I ran across on a blog this thing, havening. Never heard of it. So I look it up, and believe it or not, even though I'm a hypnotist, I'm very skeptical. I like science, I like evidence, I want to know why something works. If I don't know why something works, I don't do it. I took a look at it, I did more thorough research, and I found the science behind it. When a traumatic event occurs, and there are certain criteria met, the cells in your brain change physically to accommodate that trauma. So let's take Jason. Jason's driving, Margaret cuts him off, takes his parking space. Okay, Jason gets angry. The electrochemicals flow through his brain, they go into the amygdala, the cells in the amygdala, the emotion parts. He gets angry, and then it's done. These little openings open up in the cells, he gets angry, then they're done. That's good. But now let's say that Jason's walking down the street, he's 6 years old, and a dog runs out and bites him. Now Jason winds up later on with panic attacks and a horrible fear of dogs. There are certain criteria. Number one, to cause trauma that's going to last a lifetime, anxiety and the like, it has to be an event. Anxiety doesn't come out of nowhere. Trauma, PTSD, doesn't come from nowhere. It has to have meaning to you. If the event doesn't have meaning to you, it's not going to affect your brain. It's not going to affect your mind. You don't care. It's like the Super Bowl. If you don't watch football, you don't care about the Super Bowl, do you? The landscape of the brain has to be vulnerable. And that means there has to be something going on. Maybe, and most kids, their landscapes are vulnerable, especially who are coming from impoverished areas. Jason may have been in trouble. And then the episode has to feel inescapable. So Jason there, the dog came out, he's a little kid, 6 years old, can't get away, he's a little kid, he has no power. Boom, now we've just opened the cells in his mind, and the electrochemicals that went through this time dropped off a little molecule, a little phosphorus molecule that wedged the little doorway open into that cluster of cells. And those phosphorus molecules hold those doorways open. So now, Jason has a fear of dogs for life. Right now, we deal with PTSD, we deal with anxiety, we deal with somatic pain, we deal with depression, sadness, things like that, with psychotherapy, so talk therapy. We deal with psychopharmacopoeia, so drugs. And these work to a greater or lesser degree to kind of band-aid things, but they don't solve the problem. This new approach, havening, actually solves the problem. I was directing a show a few months ago, and one of the actresses in the show came up to me and she said, "I didn't realize you were a hypnotist and you help people feel better. I need your help. I'm reaching out." Okay. 25 years ago, you may remember this, at the warehouse on Bear Valley Road, a young man was murdered. He was shot and killed. This was her brother. She was 15 at the time. He was her moon and stars. She just adored him. Worshipped the ground he walked on. So in the ensuing months, there was the trial that she had to deal with, aside from finding out that her brother was killed, and she explained all of that to me. But not only that, she had to go and look at the autopsy photos, seeing her brother splayed open with all the markers and everything. You can understand, being in your field, just how traumatic that would be. So for 25 years, give or take, now every year during July and August, this happened August 1st, she has a recurring nightmare. A graphic recurring nightmare that happens multiple times a night. And some of the highlights are her being lost in a dark and scary housing construct, her brother being in a garage on a slab, getting up, splayed open saying, "Save me. Why did you save me?" I did one session of hypnosis with her to deal with the mourning aspect of her brother, because that's what I do. Then we talked about havening. We did one session. This was on the 3rd of August. She had one more dream. Now, all through July and August, she normally had these dreams. And the week up until then, she was on vacation, texting me every night. Just a wreck all night long, couldn't sleep. One session on the 3rd, she had one more dream that was similar, except this time her brother wasn't in it. It was lighter, she had total control of it. After that, no more dreams. Now, how many of you, when you get stressed, rub your face? You ever see anybody rub their face? Do it all the time, right? That's the first one. It's that simple. The second one, we call the arm rub. It's kind of a weird one. You'll never guess what it involves.
Rubbing your arm.
What? Get the hell out of here. You've been here before. You can cheat. Look at my notes. Hand up on the shoulder, and you rub down to the elbow, and you bring the hands back up and run down. It's not an up and down. It's just straight down, and you just keep doing it. It's almost like a self-hug. And then the last one, and a lot of us do this also when we get stressed, when we get nervous, rub our hands together. And when you do this, you can already feel the nerve ending starting to get that kind of warm, tingly sensation. But it's more than just this superficial sensation. What we were doing is we're creating that delta wave. It's like being awake, but in a deep sleep. Our mind is functioning at that level. In the past year, I have worked with rape victims, sexual abuse victims, violent abuse victims, using this havening technique. And because I'm very skeptical, I keep following up. Because I don't want it to be just like a 2-week thing and then all of a sudden it's done. What havening does is it targets certain nerve clusters in the body, and I'm going to show those to you, and it releases delta waves in the brain. The delta waves are the lowest, slowest brain wave. And what they do is when you're asleep, even lower than REM, they heal your brain. All right? I know that when I have had certain bouts of anxiety, I'll go to bed, I've had a good day, I'm like, tomorrow morning I'm getting up, I got this, that's right, I got it. I get up in the morning and I'm like, no. This sucks, right? It's like, why am I feeling this way? Last night I felt just fine, right? It's because those delta waves in the middle of the night, when you're asleep, put you back, did the reset to your anxious feelings. Which kind of sucks, doesn't it? They're healing you to a broken place. And so, but the havening actually changes that, because remember, I told you those cells are physically wedged open. But when the delta waves are released, other chemicals are released, electrochemicals in your brain, which go through, and there's a calcium component. I'm just giving you the stuff you'll never ever need to know. Calcium goes through that cell, grabs that phosphorus molecule out, yanks it out, and allows those soul cells to close up, thereby giving you a factory reset to the cells in your brain. It's pretty wild. It doesn't get rid of the memory, always. Sometimes it clouds it up. But it disconnects the memory from the emotions. So they're not connected that whole time. I've had different responses. It's been wild. Sometimes your memory will change to accommodate. When I was at the training, there was a woman who had been, she had gone up as an example. She was training as well. It was back in New York. They brought her up and they said, okay, so what's the trauma? What's the episode? She said, when I was about 6 years old, 5, 6 years old, I was about this tall, my grandmother, to punish me, would take me out to an above-ground pool and hold my head underwater until I couldn't breathe. This woman's in her 50s now. She just remembered this memory, which now it makes sense why she doesn't like being passenger in a car, she's claustrophobic, she had all these things. So they did the havening up on stage. Then Dr. Ron Root, the doctor that created this, he said, okay, so is the memory still there? And she said, yeah. And you could just hear everybody's breath. It was like, oh, that didn't work. And she said, but, okay, no, the memory, my grandmother's dragging me out to the pool, and a neighbor's head pops up and says, hey, what are you doing with that kid? And then the grandmother let her go. So often we disassociate our brains from our bodies, our minds from our bodies. But your mind is geared to protect you. And that's kind of what it does, even allowing the trauma in. Right? So, this is a lot to take in. I went back to New York, to Roslyn, New York, to learn this, which is beautiful. If you've never been to Roslyn, it's gorgeous. Yeah, it's just gorgeous. And it was a 3-day heavy-duty training, and then I had to take a neurobiology course to deal with it. I had to take an ethics course, which took me 7 times to pass. I'm kidding, it was only 6. Literally, to become certified in this. There are less than 400 certified practitioners of Havening therapies worldwide. And I'm one of them. We've got a lot of people on the East Coast, and that's where it's rooted. There are only a handful out here. This is where it comes to my call to action for you. I need you to share this. I need you to share it. Teach people how to do it. Teach your kids how to do it. They're doing this in schools back east, and the reading levels are jumping up, and the bullying is going down because they're having those connections. Because they're building those neural connections. It's exciting. It's like being there when penicillin was